multidisciplinary research in aging of the Beersheba University in Israel. And Australia Nagy is a member of the European Commission team working for the pilot European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging, and she's a policy analyst at the European Commission. Before beginning this debate, I will give the floor first to Ilya for a few words, maximum 5 minutes, and then to Australia for a first small speech of maximum 5 minutes, and also 5 or 10 minutes like you want for your slides. Okay? Let's begin like that.
Okay, I would just like to use this opportunity to emphasize the importance of the topic of today's panel, which is the political positioning of life extension and life extension research. This importance is not obvious because life extension is a scientific issue, right? And yet its political positioning, its social support are extremely important for a simple reason that in a democratic society it is elected public officials who decide on public spending, including research spending. And they need to realize the severity and the seriousness of the problem of aging, but not fall victim to unjustified pessimism and sense of impotence, but know the real scientific approaches that can be used to address this problem. They should know the cost of their action and yet also know the cost of their inaction. Both they and the society at large should understand the implications of increasing life expectancy, both for good and bad, and learn to discriminate between myths and facts. And I think for that, social debates are extremely important, and political activism is extremely important. I represent here, I was introduced as a researcher, but I'm also an activist for life extension. I represent here a new organization called International Longevity Alliance. It is a new organization. It started a few months ago, yet in this short period we were able to gather significant following. There are over 5,000 people registered on Facebook in our various groups. There are 35 groups in different countries, groups of activists. From Finland to South Africa, and from Mexico to Japan, and from Russia to the United States. I'm from Israel, and there is also a plan to set up a group in Iran. And there are absolutely no national or political conflicts among us. There may be some personal conflicts, but no ideological conflicts. We all united for the common goal of extending longevity for as long as possible, for as many as possible. For that, political activism is crucial. It must be noted that the original name of this organization has been and remains Longevity Party, to reflect our strong social commitment. And it may well be that at some reason parties dedicated to promoting healthy longevity may emerge in some places. But at this point, we're in the process of registering as a non-governmental, non-profit international association. It will be a lobbying organization, but in no way party affiliated. So this should be made clear. One of the things that people in our group emphasize is the importance of the biology of aging, of the research of the biology of aging, as Eduard also presented in his lecture, because this is really the key. I'm an historian of medicine, and I can testify based on historical evidence that very real therapies and even entire new medical fields were born out of research of aging and even out of rejuvenation attempts. Examples include probiotic diets, therapeutic endocrinology, first life cell and tissue transplants. This all happened in the beginning of the 20th century, and even blood transfusion was specifically designed for the purpose of trying to develop rejuvenative therapy. And the reason these therapies were developed out of research of aging and rejuvenation is, I think, because aging is really the root of most chronic diseases that affect our world. This is the cause, and when you look at the root, more like there is a greater possibility to find the means to tend for the entire organism. And there is also grounds to expect, and as Eduard also emphasized, as we have seen plenty of evidence in the previous 2 days, there are good grounds to expect that investment and effort in the research of biology of aging, yet not just basic research for the sake of knowing, but with a proactive purpose of trying to intervene in this process, to trying to extend healthy lives. There are grounds to believe that such an approach will yield substantial results. But once again, this needs to be brought to public attention. Even before our group was born, several of our members were involved in legislative initiatives in various countries, including Korea, Israel, Russia, the United States, here, not only legislative but also lobbying initiatives here in Belgium, because once again this needs to become, first of all, a subject of common knowledge, and second of all, a subject of knowledge for the policymakers. And I think that this issue will be increasingly raised because there is really no way around it. The population is aging at a very rapid rate, especially in Europe, where in some countries it already reached 22%. It is expected to grow even more. That's on the pessimistic side. And on the optimistic side, our technologies are developing also at a very rapid pace, even some suggest with some acceleration. So there is hope that with a greater investment in science and in technology, we can circumvent the bad effects of population aging. And but as important, one more minute, please, if I may. As important as this realization is, it seems it has not been, has not become neither common knowledge or a subject of public debate or political or social debate. If we look at concrete examples, for example, in the United States, the program on the biology of aging has been basically frozen for many years at the level of about $175 million. Next year it's set to increase by $90,000. It doesn't seem to be enough. In Europe, the situation seems to be even worse. There was some program called biological aging within the FP5 program, and there was another program called molecular roadmap in biogerontology, which was in FP4, but now there seems to be nothing, or no grants are given. And that's really something to beat, because also, as we know, and as you presented in your lecture, there are excellent research institutes in Europe doing exactly this kind of work, and there can be added more institutes, as Eduardo is proposing, and they may require greater support from the committee. So I'll just wrap up and say that once again, this is an extremely important issue, actually a survival issue, if I may be so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ilya, for this passionate intervention first. And now, sorry.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. It's literally a survival issue for all of us to find cures to prevent and to stop aging. I'd like to reflect on Eduard's presentations because it was really inspiring, and also as an individual it's really hard not to get excited about such promising results. I think first of all it was key that you mentioned that we need robust data and not just not just anecdotal evidence of this person who and I owned. And we need robust data, we need comparable data across countries. And another key point you have mentioned is that we need transparent data, not just necessary data that might serve the interest of different stakeholders. I think another key issue is that on which we all can agree that living healthy as long as we can and preventing diseases is key. And if we could prevent all the diseases, then that should be the only thing that we should focus on, because obviously that's the best solution. However, it happens that despite our best efforts and despite the best lifestyle that we can lead, lots of walking and social life and good nutrition, we do become ill. And I believe that then it's also the society's and the European Union's responsibility to make sure that those people who have already fallen ill have some hopes. They have something to rely on, and maybe it's a device. Maybe it looks like a really crude computer from the outside. But once these people have fallen ill, I think it's crucial for them to have something that supports their needs and some hopes for cure. Or if there is no hope for a cure, they can live the best life that they can live. And it's really hard to shift the emphasis from one to the other, because for those people who are already having a chronic disease, I'm sure that they would say that management of chronic disease is more important than prevention, and we only have finite resources to allocate, so we have to strike for the best balance that we can strike for, to make sure that the people, our family who might have diseases, have the best care, but we also prevent.
Yes, I have an example behind. It's rapamycin. It's a drug, and it was looked. It was tested in order to increase the health span of mice, and it became the #1 in Europe treatment against cancer. Because in fact, when you treat the underlying processes or the difficulties of the body with aging, you treat a lot the diseases themselves. And it's another approach than focusing on the specific disease and its mechanisms. It's all the body frailty behind. And the reason why we have all those diseases when we age is because we are frail. And if we target frailty in advance, we also target the treatments. And so it has become one of the major cancer treatments nowadays. And in fact, it's a life-extending compound.
But, sorry, normally, just first intervention and after that, the debate. But I made the first exception. And you can go further. And also, if you want your slides,
Yes, so I was anticipating that you'd be interested in European Union funding related to aging. So I actually prepared another slide that might explain. And I was also looking for new cause that could be interesting for you. So you could also ask questions, but if this is something that you find interesting, I could just go on and show it to you, and maybe we can take the questions from there.
Yeah, great.
So, I'm not sure if this is on, but this is the slide that explains the different focus of the different European funding instruments. So, yes, this is all related to active and healthy aging, and of course to our partnership. But if we go from the left side, which is of course your right side, you see that there are many programs for the deployment of solutions, for the deployment of new models, and this is something that's of course less relevant to researchers like you. But then we have, as we are moving backwards, we have initiatives on evidence and innovation guidelines, and there are new solutions, proven ideas, and new knowledge as well. And for new knowledge, I mentioned the joint program initiatives, More Years for Better Lives, that's the Alzheimer initiative. But now there is a new joint program that I will talk in a few minutes. So this shows that there are targeted instruments for new knowledge, and this also shows that, for example, FP7, the future, which is going to become Horizon 2020 from 2014, is actually already dealing with proven ideas and new solutions. So it's not necessarily the first step of the process. It's not necessarily really basic research, but Horizon 2020 is already for ideas that seem to work and to gather further evidence on them. This is another. This is a call that you might find interesting. It's the. Maybe you can it's the joint program on neurodegenerative diseases. A joint program is a joint program of the European Commission and the member states. And in this program, all the member states who are interested to participate, they nominate an institution. Usually it's a research institute, Ministry of Health, depending on the field. And they put together some funding. Usually it's 50% from the Commission and from the member states to cooperate on a certain aspect. There is one on Alzheimer's disease. From next year there will be one on chronic diseases, and this is on neurodegenerative diseases. And they have a new call, which is a research project for identification of genetic, epigenetic, and environmental risks and protective factors. So this is just an example, but this also means that there are initiatives and there are relevant funding sources for research. And what's also interesting, and the joint actions are really a good example for this, is to see how the priorities of a certain funding instrument are defined. Usually it is actually the member states who sit down and discuss and debate the priorities. And then, of course, when it comes to the exact text of the call, it's Commission officials who draft it. But the overall targets, the priorities, are usually discussed on a member states level. Or whenever it is possible, the Commission is also putting a lot of emphasis on involving all the stakeholders in this decision making. Recently, the consultation on Horizon 2020 was closed. And this was a consultation which was open to all stakeholders to express and put forward what specific areas they would think important to have in the Horizon 2020 program. And one more thing I'd like to show is our website. This is the website of the European Innovation Partnership. And this is especially a page, this is the funding page, where we try to collect all the funds that are relevant to active and healthy aging. So basically here we have two things. One of them is a list of programs. It's not a list of open calls, it's a list of programs. You can see them here. And these are just to give you an overview of the program itself. And we are also working constantly to identify specific calls that are interesting for you, specific calls to which you can say, yes, this is interesting for me, yes, I have a project for this, yes, I have a coalition for this. And we collect them in a more dynamic format, in a monthly letter, or in a monthly list. And this is really an overview of the cause, the title of the cause, a short description. And of course, they are very widespread because some of our partners are more interested on deployment and in technology. But there can also be some interesting things for research as well. And this is something that you could check every month and just see if there is any relevant opportunities that somehow you didn't see anywhere else. So this is what we do, and this is a continuous effort from our side to somehow facilitate information that's already there, that's already available, to actually reach to those who are interested and who could make the best use of it. And I don't want to continue it in a presentation format, but I prepared these few things and I just wanted to show it to you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. I propose first to have, if somebody has questions just about this aspect, the slides we just saw now, that we ask questions, but I insist just about this aspect, and after that we have the general debate. Yes?
I went through the FP7 program a few months ago, and I think you also, yeah, and we can feel great efforts behind, but to be frank, biology of aging is really not represented, and we believe ourselves, and we are quite a lot, so that we can do a lot for healthy life years, and difficult to find a place. We have to completely say something different about what we're doing. It doesn't fit at all the program. So it's difficult to then fit the calls. Some of us tried, but it's not our topic. So we have to talk about greenhouse effects, making it a bit big. So it doesn't really fit the biology of aging today.
I think what's important to see is that in the European Innovation Partnership, we are trying to work as closely as possible with DG Research, with the different executive agencies, and also with structural funds to align the priorities and to make sure that active and healthy aging is there. But I would strongly advise you to turn directly to DG Research to find the responsible people and to really advocate there and directly, because I'm sure that you directly as a researcher could make a stronger case than we in the partnership.
If I may also make a related comment to your answer, because as the things stand now, there is very little chance to squeeze in. For example, there was published recently a program for research, the European Program for Research and Innovation from 2014 until 2020. So it really seems to be no way to approach. And I also wondered if, for example, the program Future and Emerging Technologies would fit perfectly for this kind of research. So I wonder how one can then enter this at this stage. So it's,
I just think what's shown here is excellent. I think that probably part of the argument is this, as we said, the underlying biology of aging addresses so many other diseases, and I think you talk about priorities, that probably needs a priority shift and an understanding shift, because you mentioned earlier, I think, that the people that are ill and people that are chronically ill deserve hope, and absolutely, but if you look at the amount of research for the specific diseases in terms of cancer and in terms of the healthcare system, everything at the moment is dedicated towards treating the diseases, and practically nothing is dedicated, and in a European context it seems to be a little bit more in America, and towards tackling the underlying aging mechanism that leads to so much of these diseases. So I think maybe that's the priority shift that's required to bring the funding about.
I agree, and I think in general everybody is advocating for a shift towards prevention. If it's prevention of any specific health determinant, like prevention of smoking, advocacy for better nutrition, it's just a tiny fraction of the budget the health budget that's being sent on prevention. And everybody knows that it's a cost-efficient solution. Everybody knows that it's work. Still, it's really hard to shift priority both on a personal, local, national, and EU level from addressing a problem to prevention. But I think this is also true for an individual, also true for a country, and also true for Europe, that more emphasis should be placed on prevention.
So we had quite a big number of researchers here yesterday and the day before yesterday, and they seem mostly to have concern that European Innovation Partnership does not meet perhaps needs of prevention to the fullest extent, because the opinion of the community that there are technologies which can be implemented even in quite close years. So the question is perhaps that there was a pill on prevention and it was turned into prevention of falls. So are there administrative mechanisms to amend the action plan for this pillar and to include prevention of other diseases? So how can this be done administratively? So this is perhaps a question from the academic community which was here.
Actually, I'm really happy to give an answer to this question because what happened is that we have 3 pillars in the partnership, and the first pillar is prevention, and we have 6 specific actions, and of these 6 specific actions sections, actually 3 is in the pillar of prevention. So yes, we have the prevention of falls, which is more of a technical, technological oriented group, but we also have increasing adherence to medical treatments as preventing adverse effects. And what might also be the most interesting for you is prevention of functional decline and frailty. And this one also focuses on malnutrition, but the main topic is prevention of functional decline and frailty. And this action group is strongly more health-oriented than the other ones, and research, developing guidelines and developing new solutions are very much part of this action group. So in the field of prevention, we of course have falls prevention, but also adherence to treatment and prevention of functional decline and frailty. And that might already give some space to explore where a project would fit in.
So those are A1, A2, A3.
Exactly.
So one is on the prevention of falls, and it's we understand it as you justified it by the persons who may fall and break their hip, and then maybe they become one day dependent just because of that, and that's important. But concerning the prevention of frailty, so far, so we have adherence to treatment. I imagine that it's easy to understand that it's not really prevention as we have just described in the previous presentation. We have great results in mice and people that could be applied to a large way to live long and healthy lives. And instead of that, we are talking about adherence to treatment instead of looking at which treatments can lead to a long life. So the good thing is that the responsible, Sergio, I think the committee of this initiative has a big database from which perhaps one of the things we are talking could be pushed forward, because through this database you can analyze what are the long-term effects of drugs. But that's not the main purpose. Right now it's purely adherence to treatment, which is not the same objective, of course.
But adherence to treatment and prevention of functional decline and frailty, they are two different action groups. So,
yes. So I come to the last one, to the prevention of frailty. And this one also I mean, it's very much nutrition oriented. We have nothing against nutrition, it's very good. It's especially for the undernutrition. And what we are talking about here is about really living healthy, many years longer, maybe 2, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15, just by knowing what's good for the long term and other things in biology of aging. And it's quite different than looking at the undernutrition within society, which is also another concern. So in fact, what we are talking about and the whole community may look from the outside the way presented, but when we go inside, we cannot participate because that's not our field, and we believe we can bring much more to the healthy life years. That's the reason why we are coming here, and because we believe we can bring much, and it's not in the program today.
Yeah, I will add one thing here. It's almost everything is about treating the consequences of aging, and never about trying to know how it is medically possible, with more research, to prevent aging or to diminish aging. It's really, there's nothing about that. So there is nothing, well, I didn't see, and Edward didn't see, we were there, anything about scientific research concerning aging and so.
I'd like to reply, and on my reply, I'd like to strongly separate two issues that are getting here intertwined. One is the priorities of European funding, of European research funding, and I believe that the European research funding in general is, of course, much broader than the areas of the partnership. And we can argue that not enough focus is on prevention, and I think it's an interesting and very crucial exercise for you to really see which are the most relevant sources for you, which are the most relevant institutions, and to directly go and target them. Another issue is the European Innovation Partnership, because it's not a funding instrument. It doesn't say that it wants to, it is working towards active and healthy aging, but it's a private partnership. It's a cooperation of two directorate generals, one on ICT, one on health. So it's necessarily a more diluted approach, not so strongly health focused, but we have to respect other priorities as well. And it's a new form of cooperation for stakeholders, a pilot project that really looks for validating this approach. And in validating this approach, we had to look for some big results. Because this is a new exercise, it first needs to be validated and then it can be extended. The priorities were defined by a set of stakeholders. We identified a steering group that represents member states, patient organization, academia, researchers, but of course also industry and health providers. And they were the ones who said, go for the low-hanging fruits, identify these specific actions, and target them and see what comes out of the new form of collaboration. And the fact that these 6 specific actions you can argue that these are not the most relevant ones. You can argue that these are not the ones that bring the most benefit in the long term, but they have been identified by a group of people who were committed to the partnership, who were committed to a new idea, and they believe that this is the best approach to validate a new form of collaboration. So indeed they are not exhaustive. So maybe it's better to focus on EU funding in general and see where you could find some support for your researches.
Is there a
Sorry. I take one last word for Edouard and one last possibility to answer. And then we go to the general debate. Okay. Or if you don't want, we stop there.
I'll try to be very clear. So far, that's why we're trying to get advocacy. We are not good at that. We must recognize it, we are not good. And there was, at the beginning, the 4 workshops. One was on research on aging. And one day it has disappeared by the stakeholders' decisions. And today there is nothing in Europe on long-term scales of fundings, nothing about research on aging. It's all in the US, very little in Europe. And so what should we do? We believe that's not that's a low-hanging fruit, as we have just seen before. It's going to be much more, but we are not companies, big companies. So we are not associations of patients, because you are not association of patients because you are aging. So at the end, maybe we were only now thinking of what to do, and we very much like, of course, if there was 4 workshops, it has become 3 pillars, and if the 4th workshop was more representative, because it has been squeezed, to be very honest, and we think, and we are a lot, if you ask the population, or if they think how to increase the healthy life years, many of them think that it's a really preventive medicine in the terms of biology, of medicine, is really key. And here we end up in completely other ways. So in this system we are not very good, but at the beginning there was 4 workshops, and in Horizon 2020 that's the only place where we can exist in Europe. So there is no place for us. That's the only thing, so we need to find a place.
Again, I would like to tell what I have told a few times, is that I think the US has this institution called the National Institute on Aging, and it existed there for like 30 years ago. And Europe has nothing like that. It doesn't have like a coordinated center that is funded specifically for aging research. And I really think Europe needs such a center.
Okay, that's a good way for transition because that was going to be so for the general debate. My first question. After that, I let you ask other questions. But in the United States, indeed, there is a National Institute of Aging. So there is not such an organization in Europe. Do you think it should be a good idea to create it? Or what do you think about this? And also maybe here.
I think it's a difficult question because there are many issues on which one could argue that stronger EU-level action could be beneficial. However, in the treaties it is very clearly said that health is the responsibility of member states. So we are doing a lot on coordination of research, on coordination of the work, on the coordination of academic, medical, the coordination of guidelines. But when it comes to actual service provision and when it comes to major research, it is still the responsibility of member states. So, and I think there is a tendency in the last years to discuss more and more on EU level, but in general, that's not really the official competencies. And then you can argue for cases where it could be more efficient, but it is.
Of course, I have no official position on this. I just express my opinion. I think a coordinated center for the EU would be very beneficial, simply for the sake of learning what kind of research is done, so people from different institutions want to repeat themselves, so they can complement themselves. But I think even broader cooperation is needed, because cooperation is really key in this initiative, because aging is not just an issue for the United States, and for Europe it's a global issue. So the more cooperation is the better, and what a better way to promote international cooperation as through a centralized European Union center.
Okay, so to be short, your answer is it's not possible inside the European Union. You should have a decision of the member states or of few member states to create such a thing, because it's impossible at the situation and now the law situation.
It would depend on the type of institution and the institutional structure, on the exact responsibilities, but either it would be very limited or it would need a strong support and a strong decision from the member states. So it's not just a matter of review from
Okay, so you can now ask questions about, I would say, political and social questions in general. Yes, no, yeah.
Just trying to get some clarification as far as I understand from what you're saying. It is not possible to have broad funding through the European Union mechanism, but am I correct that it's possible to have like some research coordination mechanism on the level of EU?
I think my point was that for a new mechanism, for a new institution, for a new form of cooperation, it can come along in very many ways, and different ways would lead to different strengths of cooperation, but most of them would also require the agreement of member states. And of course, the more responsibilities this possible potential collaboration or institution would have, the more stronger agreement and the stronger support from member states it would need. And for research funding, if it's under the existing funding mechanisms, it also depends on the funding mechanism, who defines the priorities and how the priorities are set and how much they can be shifted. But it's hard to give a straightforward answer because there are so many mechanisms, and they are also different in how they are created, how they function, who makes the decisions, for how long. So it's hard to give a concrete answer to a question like that.
Yes? Thank you. Other questions? Okay, so, and not only Edward, but okay. Also, at the moment you are the only one asking.
It is just a little difficult to digest that we want to increase the healthy life years without biological innovation. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't fit in my mind and it doesn't fit in people's mind in the streets. If you want to increase healthy life years, you have to accept health in your system. Without health, it's not the same. It's not the same. That's all I'm saying. Then perhaps it's a decision to be taken within the European Commission. I don't know, but there is something strange with the will to increase healthy life and not deal with health. I think there is something that is difficult to understand, or maybe I did not understand correctly, but I think there should be funding, but not only, it should be clear that it should be, if you want to increase the healthy life of citizens without looking at their health, it's not possible. So maybe it's just a question of wording, but we ourselves, we are working for the health of citizens, and we are doing the work you are supposed to organize with the means that we have that are very small, but we are doing it. And as you're seeing, with a little bit of, as what we have, we do the best, and we think we can do much more than what you're already funding, and we believe the funding is really not well oriented. And so if it's because health shouldn't be brought, I think there's something here, a big trouble at the beginning of the EAP. If you want to increase health without health, there's a trouble.
Yeah, to say it in other words, there's a kind of paradox. So the European Union is making statistics about healthy years of life expectancy. The European Union is saying we want 2 years more of life expectancy, healthy years of life expectancy for 2020. But on the other hand, it's prohibited for the European Union to really promote things and make research about the possibilities to have this longer life expectancy.
Maybe just a few questions and then we can answer together.
Yes.
I just want to make some comment on the words in support of words of Edouard, that you said about collaboration between scientific collaboration. It is very nice and strong collaboration is more than nice, but collaboration is collaboration means work, and work means money, and principle increase of lifespan, as it was stated during this meeting, that increase of healthy lifespan needs some principle and new approaches, and to make these approaches, it needs much effort and sometimes very expensive methods.
Well, yes, I just received an email too from one of our speakers yesterday, who essentially also said that the funding is insufficient, and that he's really wondering where the European Union will step in to provide some funding. So I'm going like this, and then I'm going to that.
I think that there's what happened the last few days and what people can present documentation and results and everything else, that it's clear that the area of addressing the underlying causes of aging is something that is increasingly important and will become really important very quickly. And it's something we can see, it's a motive, it's important to people. And I think without comparing Europe and America, there does seem to be some public funding in America. And as a European and a pro-European and a pro sort of particular politics as well, I would worry that in the very near future, big industry will support these types of ideologies and endeavours with a view to you know, medication becoming available according to cost, as opposed to the much different European model where you can theoretically support this for everybody in a much quicker and easier way. So I would think that the requirement to bring this as a priority is partially because it's evidence, it's feasible, it's incredibly important, but also because it would be really good to get this done in a social context now before it's chased by big industry.
Yeah, I'm quite worried about the idea of chasing just the low-hanging fruit, because in general in medicine it was high-hanging fruit that were pursued and that then yielded the results we have today. So even if you consider that there is also a European Research Council, which is of course dedicated to basic research, I think that also that this is not enough, and that it should be that also more of the standard European EU funding should go for, say, medium-hanging fruit. And I think aging research, and as it was demonstrated at this conference, is in a way kind of medium-hanging fruit.
Sorry, I just like to pick up quickly on this. I couldn't agree with you more on the fact that, yes, any public funding, any public financial allocation should focus on high, low, and medium-hanging fruits. I was just seeing it in the context of the pilot partnership, that since it's a pilot, since it's a new collaboration, it did go for low-hanging fruit. But in general, when you are talking about the allocation of public money, the allocation of public research money, it should definitely focus on all the areas. And another point that was raised, maybe in two comments, is that yes, there is commercial funding or commercial resources available, but if a research becomes commercialized, then it will become a commercial product, and access to everyone might be restricted. This is a general difficulty, and this is a big issue in pharmaceutical research, because it's in the public interest to make sure that there are new medicines, there are innovative medicines, but then there are the interest of the pharmaceutical companies who are investing in the development, and obviously they would want return on their investment. So these are really strong and opposing issues.
Yeah, you want to say something?
Sneaky comment in the form of a question. I think there are certain reasons why there's so little research of aging in Europe. I think it's largely rooted in the general public attitude, which tends to be generally very precautionary and also quite environmentalist, which puts very much emphasis on the outside rather than on the inside. And I wonder if the approach can be through changing these attitudes, but through showing an alternative way, through showing that there is also inside beside the outside, and there are really some ways to improve the situation. I wonder if the partnership can promote this kind of dialogue as an outreach program within its structure, just to raise this issue to public discussion.
And what do you exactly mean by promoting dialogue? Promoting dialogue between stakeholders, member states, commission, industry, or a general debate?
General debate. I wonder if the partnership can serve as a tool to bring this debate to the public arena, to members of the parliament, to other agencies, because it is really an interrelated issue with other social issues. So there is no way to really separate the partnership and say this is the number of stakeholders, and we will only interact between ourselves. I wonder if the discussion can be taken outside, even if, as a public debate or something of this sort.
Well, I take it as a compliment, but I think to be able to initiate public debate involves the parliament, involves stakeholders that haven't been previously involved general public as such. Yes, it's extremely resource intensive, and we are doing the best, but I'm not sure if the partnership is really in a position to create a Europe-wide general debate and discussion on an issue. And I'm not saying that this is not an important or interesting issue, I'm just saying that that's quite important.
Yes.
I quickly wanted to go back to your comments on the integration of companies in the FP7 program. So basically in the recent years what we see is that we have to take in a lot of SMEs or companies into research. And basically what it's down to is that we researchers are doing development and research for these companies. So kind of like we do their jobs, and it takes away a little bit of our freedom to do something on a broader aspects, on a like service for the public and the community instead of service for the SMEs or for the companies. So what's the position of the EU? Will that change again, and will that be reduced to like a normal level, or will these numbers of 30% SME participation raise in the next year? So I'm concerned that that make life for the researchers much more complicated.
I have to admit that I'm not an expert in FP7 research, especially not the involvement and collaboration between different stakeholders. So I most likely won't be able to give an answer to your questions. But what I know and what I can say is that, and this is again, there are different priorities in the European Union, and the involvement of SMEs is really linked to economic revival, trying to kickstart the economy, trying to make sure that European companies are competitive, and SMEs are drivers of the European economy. So the strong emphasis on involving them in research, on involving them in something that would potentially make them competitive and successful, and to pull the European economy out of the crisis is the basic idea. And I'm really not in a position to know how fortunate, successful, mutually these collaborations are, but this is the general reason why they are so involved and why there's so much emphasis on SMEs. I'm sorry it wasn't really an answer to your questions, but maybe this is also something that would be interesting to contact directly DG Research or directly the people you are in contact with within your project, because these are really valuable. Any feedback is really valuable, and there maybe it would really go targeted to the person who is dealing with this. But if you can provide this feedback to somebody who is more in this, that could be valuable.
Since we have so much expectations about the partnerships and its role for the people in Europe, so can I ask you about mechanisms? Is it supposed to be like a living initiative, developing all these 6 directions I just told, and for 8 years only these ones will be developed? What in case if like relevant stakeholders, like representatives of some parties come up to the partnership and propose another initiative to add? So do you think, what is the rule and the procedures?
Well, since it's a pilot program, there are no rules and procedures. There is nothing set in stone, especially if you look at the time horizon until 2020. What is for sure at this point is that first we need to validate the approach. First we need to validate whether it is a good idea to work in such a collaboration, giving so much responsibility to a group of stakeholders, to a steering group to define the priorities. So first this approach has to be validated, and we have to produce some results. These results have to be presented in 2013. This is our mandate. And if these results prove that this is a collaboration that's effective, that's taking forward the agenda, then that's the point where we can explore new directions. But until the end of 2013, we are still in the first phase of validating the approach. And until the approach is validated, it would be maybe even irresponsible or to go for new directions when we are not for sure that this is the right thing to do.
And then just thank you very much. A question in addition, the steering group, is it also like fixed community, or it can be amended, I mean not amended, but increased with other stakeholders?
The steering group had the mandate to develop the strategic framework, and they have delivered on this. And since then, they haven't been dismissed in any way, so they are still formally the steering group of the partnership. However, in the last month, they haven't been active, so they've been they haven't been convoked. When we move forward, this is another issue we will have to reinvestigate, how to establish a governance for the next steps that really ensures a continuity but represents everybody and can take the partnership forward in the best ways. This is something that we will have to look at. But it will also only come at the end of 2013, at the earliest.
Yeah, Edouard?
So when at the beginning there was those 4 workshops and one on research and meeting. I have said it many times. And so for us that was really one way to increase the healthy life years. Today our global understanding is that we have a very non-preventive medicine, and we have very curative medicine, and it's difficult to really increase the truly active and healthy lives through mainly curative medicine. Because once you're frail, you are frail, which means you do not go up in terms of global state. You can only go down. And so far, the path that has been chosen is mostly the focus on curative, not only, but mostly. So it's maybe it works, maybe it's just because it's not our field, so maybe we do not see. But we believe that, of course, the action on the healthy part of the life is mathematically, in time, the way to change the current paradox that we are investing massive effort in curative medicine, and as a result, the healthy life years are not so impressive. So we believe that this change of mind is really the key of the partnership, the key of the economy, and that we are the solution. So we just believe it, and we are being ignored because it's not part of the current way of thinking, including through the European Commission. So it's as if at the time of Louis Pasteur, the microbiome theory was not supported, and so today we will be mostly ill because we will be full of microbes, or we will have not clean water, etc. So it's about the same with healthy life. Again, I'm just saying maybe the same thing, that we all here believe in it because it works in mice, etc. Things still need to be spread out, that works in clinical trials in people, it needs to be spread out. The trouble perhaps is that health usually is an instantaneous healthcare at the country level. Is usually about having the right numbers of doctors here, about very short-term events. And so this global picture, this global wall in front of us, the trouble of the economics, it's difficult to solve it if we don't change our view, if we still go into the wall. The reason why such things are perhaps not promoted is because today, when we talk about health, we really think of the emergency, but not developing the preventive medicine really. So perhaps a breakthrough innovation, something like that in Europe, would be the way to be able to go out of the wall.
Yeah. Maybe I I have, it's almost 3 p.m., so it's almost the end. So if you have a last question, it's time to raise your hand. But I have also a last question. It's maybe a very general question, but okay, at least here, we all agree that more healthy years of life expectancy is something positive. So we all agree that more research in these fields is also something positive. Well, and so we all agree that we need more money for this. So I think that there are 3 possibilities, well maybe 4 possibilities, but again 3 big possibilities. The first possibility is you find a few billionaires giving money. The second possibility is you ask big drug companies. And the third possibility is you can convince government to be more active. So, well, I will give my opinion. My opinion is it's really dangerous to ask to billionaires and to companies because you have the risk to have a private life extension only for a few, well, or at least that it will be this situation for a few years. But I would like to ask Ilya and to ask you, well, what's your best solution and how is it possible then to convince to have more money if it is the government from the government? Well, of course it can be by convincing public opinion and then convincing people in charge.
Okay, so first of all I agree with you entirely, Ilya. I think that real governmental involvement, state involvement, massive state programs in support of this kind of research will really be crucial, but there are certain qualifications. For example, as it appears it may take some time before the government and the political system become convinced that this is even an issue. And in the short term, billionaires may be most accessible source of funding because they're free to do with their money as they want. So we shouldn't discard billionaires altogether. But for the long term, I think governmental approach will be the solution. I also agree that companies are also not such a good way to pursue this, because once again we're talking about very high risk levels. We don't know. This means may be discovered tomorrow, or they may be discovered in 20 years. And for companies to undertake an initiative of the kind would involve a very high degree of risk, and they're not very unlikely to undertake it. So I think the real way to pursue this is through government-funded programs.
I agree. There is really a place for personal donations, and then there's really a place for commercial investments, especially if the end product is going to be commercialized. But when it comes to areas of public interest, then public funding is crucial, and public funding can really bridge some gaps and really support some basic research that wouldn't have been undertaken otherwise. And setting the priorities for public funding, it's really something that should be done in collaboration with all stakeholders and with evaluating all the priorities that we have. As for the innovation partnership, one more thought. I do believe that the innovation partnership is more than just the 6 action groups. We have a network of reference sites, and we have a marketplace. And in these structures, we are continuously working to bring information, to orientate people to the best contacts, to the most relevant institutions, to the most relevant funding opportunities. So even if there is not an action group called research on prevention of biological prevention on aging, I believe that we can do a lot to facilitate you, to orientate, to advocate, and to really find the best contact, to really find the best funding streams, and to find the voice. And yeah, through the marketplace, we would be really happy to continue to do so and provide any information and orientate your search.
Okay. So thank you very much, Arsalia and Ilya. If there are no more questions, this is the end of this debate. There is a last question. Yes?
That's not for the debate. I wonder, will there be another Europe Symposium on Healthy Aging? I wonder whether there would be another Euro Symposium on Healthy Aging. I think that would be a great idea.
So that's maybe so this is the end of the debate, and this is also the end of the conference. In the name of HEALS, so Healthy Life Extension Society, I want to thank all the speakers for their speeches, of course. We learned a lot during the conference. I also want to learn all the participants. More speeches will be made available on the HEALS Movie YouTube channel. One article about the conference will be published, so the report of the conference will be published probably in the Rejuvenation Research Journal. So this is the end of the conference, but it is also the starting moment of many activities in the fields of research on aging, and also time of reflections about positive but sometimes destructive sociological, social questions. I invite you to be active in the fields of research about aging, and I wish you to. I hope to see you during the next conference, and maybe there will be another Euro Symposium, but not tomorrow. And there are a lot of many other conferences interesting, but yeah, I can tell you that it was such an interesting activity that I hope, and the speeches were so interesting and the participants were so enthusiastic until sometimes in the night, that I hope that there will be another symposium in 2 years. But before, of course, we will keep in touch. Thank you.
And we would like to